Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche pregame show. We got Eric and Rudo coming to you live as the Avs are taking on the Minnesota Wild. We'll get into the game in a second. Obviously, the big news of the day for the Avs, the Sam Girard situation. Credit to Girard for being very forthcoming with the situation and him entering the player assistance program. Obviously, not a situation anybody likes, but good on Sammy to do what he needs to do to get healthy.
Absolutely. And listen, everybody wishes him the best. I'm always the first one to say, like, he is a great player. When he's not around, there is a hole in the lineup. There will be a hole, like there was the last couple games. But at the end of the day, this is just a game. You got to take care of himself. Yep. And he's a great kid.
Yep.
He's a great kid, first and foremost. Forget about the hockey player. He's a great kid. Wants to take care of himself. It's the right thing to do, and this is way beyond hockey, and we wish him nothing but the best. And you know what? He's going to come back stronger than ever, and he'll be just awesome.
Hope so. Obviously, sending good vibes his way. Like you said, a lot of things in life that are bigger than hockey.
Absolutely.
That's certainly one of them. But there still is a hockey game today. Nothing out of the ordinary for the Avs lineup. I know there was a bit of a kerfuffle about McKinnon this morning, but he's going to be in and playing, so...
Yeah. I mean, he blocked a little shot there. You know, whatever. It's not a big deal. And when you play 25 minutes a night, like, and it's a funky schedule here. And there's 3 games in 4 nights. Yeah. Like,
squeezing in an extra morning off.
Has nothing to do with getting a shot on the foot. That would be like, yeah, you're not going on the ice today, and I'll see you tonight at the game. I mean, that's, for me, those are things that are. We make such a big deal out of those things a lot of times, and because then you're looking for something. At the end of the day, it's probably all planned and not a big deal. And he'll be flying tonight.
The Avs have already released their schedule for the weekend. There's no morning skate tomorrow. Yeah. There's no practice on Sunday. They know they're in a busy stretch here. So,
and when you're busy and you're traveling, and practice is practice. I mean, it's important for coaches, it's important for players. But you can't. The schedule is the schedule. You say it all the time. You can only play the game that's on the schedule. Well, you can only practice
the days you're not.
The
playing.
days that you're not playing or whatever. You're not traveling. So it is what it is. Yep. And it's always funky like that. And coaches looked at that all summer long. This is nothing new. And this was probably all planned. So everything's all good.
Yep. Wouldn't be too worried about it on the whole, certainly. And Nathan McKinnon. Plenty good hockey player. Can handle himself just fine without a morning skate.
He's fine. I'm sure he was in the gym. And, again, I always go back to Joe Sakic. And, again, I go back to the older days. Those pregame skates, like, he never went on the ice.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to go on the ice. He didn't like going on the ice, but he was in the gym and he was doing heavy squats, and which is absurd. But that's what made built different. But that's what made him get himself ready for the game.
Yep.
And coach at the time, Crawford and Hartley and those guys, they were like, okay, let's buy into it. Hey, listen, you keep playing the way you're playing,
do whatever you want.
Doing something right. So it's whatever makes you feel good. So I'm sure Nathan McKinnon was in the gym. It's not like he was dogging it and he slept till 4 PM and said, I'm going to go to the game now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's all good and it's going to be all fine.
Minnesota, a team that has gotten certainly subpar goaltending, to say the least. I know there have been a lot of Avs fans that haven't loved what they've gotten out of Georgiev so far this year. Minnesota's has been markedly worse than that.
Yeah, if you look at it, right, again, I don't want to butcher his name, Gustafsson, whatever you want to call it.
Fleury, too.
Yeah, and Marc-Andre. I mean, listen, Flower's been around forever. And I don't think he's too stressed about ups and downs of a season. Those things happen.
Yeah.
The other one, has an unbelievable season last year. Now it's called expectations. And I'm not saying he's a bad goalie, but then he signs that deal now. You're not an unknown. You're not a guy that's coming out of nowhere, basically, and then
he's got
stealing games. And
870 right now.
And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, you're a little back to normal. And you don't wish bad on anybody. But again, it is the Wild, and we don't like the Wild, right? So maybe a little bit. But yeah, exactly. I mean, there's ups and downs this season, but they certainly haven't gotten the saves, and I think Guerin last week, their GM went public and was not too pleased, and they've been in Europe, right? This is their first game back, and they weren't too pleased with what's going on. They are in cap hell. We all know that. We don't need to go back and rehash that, but it is what it is. It's going to be a big game for them. Big game for the Avalanche. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of angles to get into, but let's get into your 3 keys of the game before we really dive in.
Yeah, like I was saying, this is... Whenever you're playing the Wild, it's always fun, right?
Yep.
So it's
a little extra for sure.
And they're coming back from Europe, and I know it's been a few days, and you do have time to adapt. But they were in Europe a few days ago, not like a month ago, a few days ago.
Like a week, but
yeah. But they still, they still get back, and you get back to the thing. So jump on them. It's their first game back since being overseas, and then play your game. I know there's a couple guys missing, and Lehkonen and Sammy, and a few guys, but. Fast and furious, play your game, make them chase you around. When the Avs do that, they're outstanding. Number 2, obviously divisional points.
Yep.
It's early. They haven't had the best start. The Wild I'm talking about, but keep them in the way back. Keep them in the rearview mirror. Raise your intensity, outwork your opponent. Every shift you go out there, you got to face off. Guy next to you, you want to outplay him, you want to outmuscle him.
Yep.
You should be on top at the end of the night because you're a better team. Let's keep the power play success streaking. Their shooting mentality. When the Avs are shooting, you see Kale up top there. Big Val's doing the job in front of the net. Lots of tips. Play with that swag and keep that streak alive on the PP where they're almost at 30% in the last 5 games. That's pretty outstanding.
Yep.
And if you're not familiar with numbers, I mean it's pretty impossible to keep a 30% all season long, as we all know. I mean, last year Edmonton,
best of the best.
I mean,
if you can do that.
Wow,
yeah.
that's like that's. You're really being successful. So I think this is kind of what's helped the Avalanche being 4-1 the last 5 games. Could have easily been 5-0, right? This is the last 2 games of the 10-game segment that we talk about all the time. If they can get those games one at a time, obviously starting tonight, you're at 7-3, like the start of the year. Yeah. Next thing you know, you're 700 hockey, and then you're going into your third 10-game segment into the season, where somehow there will be a 10-0 segment in there. It just happens every year, and they'll get it done. So far, so good for the Avalanche.
A couple things I wanted to touch on there. When the Avs went to Finland a couple of years ago, they talked about their biorhythms were messed up for like a month after that trip. So you are correct. Minis should be a little bit feeling a little weird tonight. We'll put it that way.
And again, I think it's awesome. To glow the game, global. I mean, to grow the game, not glow. Grow the game globally. It's awesome.
Good for the game. Not
it's
good
great
for the team
other
that has
teams.
to go
I
do
just
it.
don't like. I've always said that being part of the teams. I was like, no, I don't want to go. You know what I mean? Like, don't want to go because I think it messes you up.
Yep.
And again, I'm a creature of habit. A lot of those guys are creatures of habits, and now your system, like, you're all messed up, and you're. I don't care what people say. It does freak with your system. So, I mean, somehow, the Avs can take advantage of that, and then that'd be awesome.
Yep. The other side of this, Minnesota, I do want to give them some credit. They have a pretty darn consistent forward core. You're looking up and down that lineup. There are a lot of guys that are producing consistently for them. Obviously, at the top, you have guys like Kaprizov, Zuccarello, who are playing very well.
Yep.
But you also have guys down the lineup a little bit. Matt Boldy, they've gotten a really strong start to the year out of a Pat Maroon. They have forward depth. So let me ask you this. Can the Avs keep up with their forward depth with the lines they're rolling? Obviously, not fully healthy, but, they're not too injured either.
Good enough, and got some rhythm the last few games with those lines, right?
Yep.
So I do give the edge to the Avs and in that category. But you're right. You can't forget, the Pat Maroons of the world, guys that have won. They know how to ignite a team. They know how to get things going, the games within a game, and just to get under the opponent's skins like the Avalanche, tonight, and to get your guys going on your own team. But you're right, Kaprizov, one of the best players in the National Hockey League. If you're not familiar with him, then watch him because he is pretty fun to watch.
Oh yeah,
if
he played for any other team, I'd be all about him.
That's my point. Yeah, besides that, you got to appreciate him. I appreciate Matt Boldy. Obviously, watched him the last few years, and he is a good player. He's going to be a dominant player in this league. They have some good pieces.
They do.
They are in cap hell. They do have a fiery coach in Nevison. Billy Guerin, I'm a big fan. As a player, he was awesome, and he's a winner. And he's trying to instill that over there, and he's had to do it in a certain way because of the cap situation and the decisions they made. But they're there. They're there every year. I mean, and people get mad because they sneak in or whatever it is. They would maybe rather have them strip it down, but it's hard to do when you're a winner, when you're a fighter like Billy Guerin. So I think good on them, and I think it is a divisional game tonight. These guys haven't played the best. I'm talking about the Wild this year.
Not.
So they're definitely going to want to, again, get themselves up. It is the Avalanche. They don't like the Avalanche, just like Avs don't like the Wild, and vice versa. So it is going to be a good game. It is going to be a fun game. You couldn't ask for a better, if you're Thanksgiving weekend, whatever it is, this is a fun hockey game.
I know you are not a big fan of looking at the standings early in the season, but it's a divisional game. When you were a player, were those circled on the calendar a little bit?
Yeah, and like I said on the keys there, you want to keep them behind in the rearview mirror. You don't want to give anybody life. And we all saw St. Louis 3 years ago.
Yep.
It's January, you're really, really behind. Next thing you know, you win a game.
More like 5 years ago. It goes quick.
5 years, whatever it was. But I'm just saying, not too long ago, it does happen, right?
Yeah,
and it's
for sure.
You want to keep them in the back. You don't want them to find ways to get life. And then it's always nice to keep an opponent down, especially when it's a divisional opponent.
Yeah.
You just want to keep them down and stomp on them. And hopefully this is what the Avs are going to do tonight, because I think this is going to be a fun, electric game with a lot of passion and emotion.
Let me ask you this. I think we all agree the Central's not great this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, Chicago, Minnesota's down there. Nashville hasn't been good, even if they did beat the Avs the other night. Is it good or bad for Colorado to be in a weak division? Is it good that they get the easy wins, or is it bad that they maybe don't quite have to face tougher competition as much and get used to that?
Again, I go back to Avs 1.0, for example, because this is what I lived as a player. Those teams were in a weaker division, the Canadian division. You got to remember at that time the Canadian dollar was so bad and it was so low. And then so Avs were with Edmonton, Vancouver,
Patrick or whatever it was.
Whatever it was called, I don't remember. But these guys, myself included, part of that, but it didn't stop the Avalanche from having a decade of success in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So, you're right. It is human nature to think they're not used to fighting it. But sometimes maybe it's got an advantage where you are breathing a little less heavy throughout the season.
Yep.
But you want to be breathing enough, as we know, because you can't just turn the switch on. But I think the Avs have found the happy medium. And I think the Avs winning 2 years ago know what it takes and know how much breathing you need to do to win. Right?
They definitely have the experience. They've been through it. So they should be prepared. I don't think there's any doubt about that, however things go. In Minnesota's case, we kind of mentioned their poor goaltending.
Yeah.
Got a pretty good game out of Georgiev on the whole the other night. Keep it rolling for that guy. Would you like to see him another 2 or less, or maybe a little bit better?
Yeah, and I think that's the mentality you have to have as a goalie, not just for Georgie, but for everybody else as a squirt, as an NHL goalie. I think if you go with that mentality that 2 or less is the word you just said, because 2 or less you usually give yourself a chance to win, right? I mean,
hard to put it on the goalie if you give up 2.
Third one, you know what I mean? Hey, listen, guy makes 50 on the other side, you lose 2-1, what are you going to do? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But if you give yourself mentally, you have 2 X's, you know what I mean? Whatever it's on you or a bad luck or whatever it is, you still got to overcome it. So then obviously you give up those 2 early, then it's the game within the game where you're like, okay, well, now I got to do everything in my power. I can't let that one go. And he did that the other day. Remember when it was 3-0?
Yeah.
He never let that 4th one go, and then they ended up turning the thing around where they win 6-3 again.
Yep.
So game is a long game. 60 minutes is a lot. Lots can happen, but goalies have to play with the clock more than players do. You know, players have to manage the puck with the clock, but goalies have to look at the clock and figure out, like, okay,
they're the only ones out there for every minute.
That's right. And then every save could be an important factor in the game. So, Georgie, to answer your question, is keep going. Whatever he did last game, whatever he did the night before, as we all know, it was 2 and under till the last minute again. So he's building something. I think he's got the swag right now. He felt a little confident during the game in Nashville until the last minute. Then he smashed his stick on the net. I think he was really not happy. And then last game he stayed composed, 2 and under. I think you're going to see that again tonight.
I hope so. I would like to see the Avs continue to build on a lot of the guys who have. You started to see him getting going. Obviously, Val's been on fire for a while, but a guy like a Jonathan Drouin, someone like a Miles Wood, continue that progression into the season and keep that, particularly the depth forwards, going against another good depth forward team.
Absolutely, and you were bang on with Drouin, right? It's more like guys like that. You're going to be judging your production,
of course.
Right? It's like same with Tuna Tatar, right? He's got bagels right now on. What is
on
it, 18,
goals,
whatever it is.
This will be game 19 tonight.
So that's hard. Like if you're a guy who scored 20-some goals, and I mean, like,
and you got a goose egg up there. Yeah, it's tough.
You got a bagel. It's hard to look at. I know you don't want to look at the stats, but they're in front of you. They're there. I mean, it's a fact. So you want those guys to feel good about their game. And for Drouin, you get a couple points. The game before, I think he had one. So all of a sudden, you're building a streak, and then you feel better about your game, and then it's just the way it is. It's life. It's facts of life. It's human nature. Then all of a sudden you're more creative with the puck. You're not so tense. You're not so nervous. We saw Tatar the other day, had an empty net, and he just buries it. I mean, you're just gripping the stick. Things aren't easy. Where usually it goes in 99 out of 100. Right now it's not going in. Hopefully for this guy, it stops, and then he gets off the schneiders, and then all of a sudden it just goes, and then he has a sequence of 5, like Val right now.
Yeah,
Val's
exactly.
at 6 and 5, and then you don't even talk about that anymore, like your first 20. So.
Yeah, all of a sudden it evens out real quick with a stretch like that. I went with my bets tonight on the, we started with the Bo Byram train. We'll start there. With Sammy out, Byram's the guy that you really want to see step up and fill some of that role.
I like that.
You have Taze and McCarr at the top, obviously, which they're going to do their thing. But Byram is the pretty clear-cut number 3D on this team without a Sam Girard. So that's the guy who you'd really like to see up. I took him for an anytime goal at plus 400. I took the guy in front of him in Devon Taves for an assist at plus 160. Taves kind of quietly been rolling next to an unbelievably hot Cale Makar. Pretty fun job for him, I imagine, right now playing next to that guy. And then I took Colton for a power play point because it was plus 650. I know he's on the second unit. I know they don't get a ton of time, but you know what? Some nights you need that unit to come through at that price point. Feels like Colton could be some good value there. And as always with Bet365, you can get that 30% profit boost if you do a same game parlay.
What does that mean there? Explain that to me.
So if you take bets and do them together, so you have to hit all 3 legs, you'll get 30% more winnings if they all hit. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's good money. You can get in on it with Bet365. Okay. Of course, with Bet365, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And if you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER today. I think that's a good point by Mark that was just up there. The Avs have done a very good job of getting to the dangerous areas of late. They get to that net front area, and they're finding pucks, and they're getting them in.
It's not hard. In the National Hockey for the last 100-plus years, you score goals in front.
That's where you go.
The way it is. It's going to go off your leg if you're Tufty.
Yep.
It's going to go off your stick if you're Val, a tip. You're going to bang in a rebound. It's not hard. You're in a slump. Like Tuna Tatar, you're in a slump. Keep things simple tonight. Drive the net hard. Stop at the net. Have your stick down. It's going to go off your butt somewhere, somehow, it did Tufty the other day. And you know what? Tufty went to the front, got rewarded. And that's just life in the National Hockey League. You score goals from the front. That's where, whatever it is, the percentage of goals that are scored for. I would say that we're going to go through the 60-second rundown at the end of the day, at the end of the show there post-game, and I bet you
there'll be a lot of talk about the
90%
net front
of those
area
goals is going to be right there. It's just the way it is. It's nothing new.
It can be painful to go there, though.
Oh, yeah, but you got to pay the price. I'm not making fun of his comment. I'm saying his comment's bang on.
Yeah.
Mark's comment's exactly that. And that's why when they went for those 3 games out of 4 being shut out, remember, whatever it was a few weeks back, guys were not going in the front. Guys weren't stopping in the front. Guys were, this guy just banged in the rebound on an empty net. Yeah, no way, because he stopped, he did the right things, and he stopped there. If you curl and you go away, then you're not there when those things happen. So, again, you want to score goals, go to the front of the net.
Well, we'll have to see. Hopefully the Avs do get to the right areas, and if they don't, hopefully the top guy's skill is on display. That's the fun part about having some of the best players in the world. They can score anywhere, anytime on the ice.
Like Kale's been doing that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if Mikko and Nate, it's their turn right now, and those guys are world elite, and we all know they will. A lot of games this season. Tonight will be one of those that it'd be nice if they go and put on a show, and then you're breathing a little easier, as fans, as players, as anything where the Avs are now.
Also, as Kale continues to break every record under the sun, another multi-point night for him would start to stretch that out for a ridiculous length.
Every game's a new record, so it's like this, and then your records that you don't even know about.
Right, exactly.
Every game.
He's just that good. He's just that good.
Awesome.
All right. Looks like this game on TNT might be headed to overtime, unfortunately. But
come on,
we are within 10 minutes of when puck drop was supposed to be. So we are going to wrap this one up. No watch along tonight because the Nuggets are also playing. But whatever happens in the national game, we will have you covered in the post game. So be sure to tune in after the game. Like and subscribe here on YouTube if you want to keep track of us. We appreciate y'all, and we will talk to you after the final buzzer.
We all silly like the mayor.